Ham radio during a hurricane. Got that coming up next. Bill from Ham Radio Basics here. If you like the content of this video or anything on my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. With that, let's begin. The other night, I hosted Ham Radio Basics Live, and we spent the better part of the evening discussing ham radios during hurricanes. So without any further ado, let's roll that clip in its entirety. Challenges to using ham radio during a hurricane, okay? And I wanted to talk about this for a few minutes because, in normal circumstances, and it's using a ham radio is kind of a no-brainer. But when you're faced with a hurricane, you have several challenges that you have to overcome. And you can see right here, and I'm going to show you. This is my FT3D, and I have a nice diamond antenna on it. I mean, this thing's golden here. Okay. I also have, this is my FT5D, and I got a signal stick. Okay. And they really kind of don't come a whole lot better than a signal stick as far as an antenna is concerned. All right. And I'm going somewhere with this. All right. So, first thing that you have to be concerned about, if you know a lot about hurricanes, and if you've ever seen, there's a top-down view that they will show you. It's out on the National Weather, not the National Weather Service, NOAA. They'll show a top-down view of a hurricane, and you'll see hundreds of lightning strikes from the top of it. I mean, it's going constantly, okay? The one thing that's guaranteed with hurricanes is there are massive amounts of lightning with this. It is truly a superstorm. So, the one thing that you can't do is, if you have a permanent antenna set up in your house, you can't use it. Okay. You have to look elsewhere. Okay. As far as an antenna is concerned, because even you're grounded, whatever, you want to have that disconnected. Okay. Because you have, these lightning strikes can happen without warning. A lot of times, through WeatherBug, it will tell you where the nearest lightning strike is. It goes nuts because there's so many lightning strikes it can't keep up with it. Okay. So, that's one, that's the biggest, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest challenge as far as ham radio is concerned, is lightning during these storms, because you can't use, if say you have a 7300 or 7900, 9700, or, whatever, you have a good base station, yeah, I'm an ICOM guy. All right. I admit it. I'm Yaesu HTs and ICOM transceivers. All right. So anyway, all right. That's one of the things that, you have to deal with is lightning. I mean, and it happens to all of us. You get ready, you're getting ready to do some QSOs, and then boom, okay, out of nowhere, there's a thunderstorm, and you got to disconnect, and you sit there and twiddle your thumbs. Okay, all right, that's the first part that's a challenge here. Okay, now one of the other things, all right, the house that you're in. Okay. And let me give you a little education here. Back in, I think it was 83, 84, Hurricane Andrew came through the state, and it was devastating. Okay. I mean, it was thousands of homes were destroyed. Okay. Hundreds of people got killed. It was bad. It was really bad down here. So what they did was they enacted new building codes across the entire state of Florida. All right. Every house has been built since then is built of block, okay, with concrete block. Our house is concrete block. All right, we have stucco on the outside of it, but it's concrete block, and it's done on purpose. And it's going to withstand these 125, 135, 140, 150 mile an hour winds. All right, it's built to do that. That's why they did that. All right. Now, one of the other things is, okay, and I don't know, well, the previous house we lived in had a wood frame inside of it, okay? This house has a metal frame, okay? And I think you guys know where I'm going with this here, okay? All right? It's not very conducive, even during normal times, as far as me getting on my HT and talking to somebody in the house because of the metal. Now, something else that compounds that, all right, the shutters, all right, it's metal shutters. You want to have the radio way, and I'm just, I'm not talking exact science here, so don't, don't shoot the messenger here. But these are metal shutters, okay, and radio waves need a way to get outside, and they need a way to get in back to your HT. All right, you compound the problem by having these metal shutters on because there's no way for it to go. You might barely be able to pick up a signal in the house. And I know that, and I can tell you because I've tested it, and I could barely get anything, especially when the shutters are up, okay? So if I want to use my HT, I got to step outside, either out front or out back, and then I get a nice, I get a decent signal, and I'm able to use them. But because of that, I can't do that, okay? Because it's very limiting. So and conversely, and tied in with that, of course, is the antennas. And you can see, I'm using probably two of the better antennas out here, this diamond antenna and the signal stick. Okay. They don't really come a whole lot better than that. One of the other possibilities as far as an antenna is concerned, but again, this is after a storm. This wouldn't be during a storm, is Ed Fong's J-pole. Okay. That you can use on an HT if you really want to try to get some distance. This is just, I'm just doing a lot of generalization here. And, this isn't an exact kind of science. And, this is just some of my thoughts and things that I've observed during my time down here in Florida, and especially being able to use radios. So in other words, during the height of the storm, you're not going to be able to be inside your house and use an HT. All right. And if it's a true out and out emergency, first responders aren't going to be able to come at that point in time anyway. All right. So, it would probably behoove you and, to know some basic first aid skills and have some things on hand to be able to deal with some things. And hopefully, you can be able to avert your crisis. But if it's life threatening, still, you gotta weigh the cost. And, you can't step outside in the middle when there's 75, 100-mile-an-hour winds. You can't go out there and do that. So, it's a delicate balance here that you have to have. You can't, if you find an opening and stick your antenna out, there's lightning all around. So that's just not going to work. You hopefully want to wait until things subside. You can be able to get outside, get away from all the metal, all the interference, and be able to get some good signals and get a QSO out there. Hey, this is, KWQ40, I need some help. Here's my location, and have at it, or get a hold of a repeater and get somebody and, tell them what your issue is. Again, this isn't a hard and fast kind of rules or anything. These are just some things that I've observed over the years as far as ham radio is concerned, and as far as, trying to communicate during these crises. It's not easy. Welcome, UTV and Ham. Good to see you tonight. It's not easy during you're at a high stress level as it is anyway. Okay. This was also the first hurricane that we've had where we didn't have anybody else over. Last year, we had my wife's dear mother over, my mother-in-law, absolutely love. And back in 2017, we had her mom, her dad, had my stepdaughter, her friend, and had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, had 4 dogs in the house. Okay. So we had a house full that night. Nobody really got any sleep that night. It actually was a pretty, good hurricane, 75 to 100-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, we heard our hurricane shutters flapping all night long. I mean, we had cloth ones then, and it was a mess. So this is the first time that but you're at a high stress level anyway, and you're trying to use you're trying to communicate right now. We've never lost cell phone service, which is good, but you have to understand something too. During these times, 911 has to prioritize calls, and this is why it's good to have some supplies on hand. It's also good to have some basic first aid training. Probably good to know CPR as well too. Just some basic things to know when you do that. So, I wish I had some solutions for that, during the hurricane to be able to talk. More often than not, like I said, we haven't lost cell phone service. So, that's just, that's good. That's good for us. That really is. But if we do lose cell phone service, and it is an emergency and it's calm enough, I'm going to use my HT. I'm going to go outside. I know where the nearest repeater is. I'm going to get on there and say, hey, list my call sign. Yeah, I need some help here. Okay. That's the best thing to do. So, it's just some thoughts and maybe some tips and some things you might not have been aware of, during these situations, because, not a lot of you have to face a hurricane. Not a lot of you have to face this kind of inclement weather. I know up north because I grew up north. I spent, a majority of my life up north, had to deal with winter and storm warnings and other things like that. And, you're able to use your HTs. You're able to get outside to do that, or you're able to use like a 7300 or 9700 or, some other kind of rig, a QRP rig, like maybe a 705. You're able to do this kind of stuff, without having to worry about lightning, okay, or bad weather. You can have end-fed half waves up there to use as your primary antenna because you don't have that kind of high wind, high weather kind of a thing. Question of the day: what did you think of ham radio during a hurricane? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, it's a great day to make a QSO. 7 threes, everyone.